All right, check it out, guys. That is the new Toyota BZ Woodland taking on some elephant steps here just outside of Ojai, California, in Paul Walker's old ranch. And I'm here to do a very impromptu video to see if this new Toyota off-roader is any good off-road. In this video, we're gonna go do those steps and see how the traction control system works. Then we're gonna go up a very steep hill up to the top there and see how it does on a little bit of sandy dirt. And we're gonna see if the Subaru-derived X-Mode in this bZ Woodland is any good. But let's talk about the car. So this is the 2026 model, and as you can tell, it's very off-roady because it's got cladding. No, I'm joking. It's got these very off-roady tires, which are a no-cost option if you decide to go for this all-electric car. And one of the things that makes electric cars interesting off-road, of course, is that it's a dual motor, so it has traction going to the front and rear wheels. Now, these tires are Dunlop Grand Tour ATs, and they're pretty aggressive. They're a no-cost option, so if you want your bZ Woodland to be off-roady, you can specify them with these tires. Now, this car is not cheap. It's about, let me show you the Monroney for it, because Toyota was kind enough to provide it. So all in, we're looking at a total of $47,875, which is actually $49,320 when you add the options, which is almost $50,000 for an electric off-roader that does under 300 miles of all-electric range. Now, off-road, I'm a little nervous. It's only got 8.4 inches of ground clearance, which, as you know, even in Subaru terms, is not quite, where Subaru's at. But it does have a beefed-up underplate, and as you know, this is an electric car, so there's a big battery underneath, and so there is a plate under there that is now sturdier, so that when you go off-road, you can do better. Approach and departure angles are more on-roady than off-roady. Obviously, this big lip is not great for doing any serious off-roading. And Toyota will tell you that this car isn't meant for serious off-roading. It's meant for the guys and gals who like to go fishing and want to go up a dirt road. So if you're expecting something really crazy off-road, we're probably barking up the wrong tree. But I'm curious to see as to how it'll do. So let's hit the elephant steps and let's see if electric cars have gotten better tackling a little bit of rugged terrain. Now, for those of you familiar with Subaru, you'll be familiar with X-Mode, and this car does have X-Mode right there, and it's got a couple versions of it. It's got snow and dirt, it's got deep snow and mud, and then, snow and dirt and deep snow and mud. So that means basically it's got hill descent control, and X-Mode sends power to the wheels that have traction. So we're gonna go see just how it does on these elephant steps, and we'll find out if this bZ is worthy of a little bit of dirt. We've got 375 horsepower, which we only probably need about 75 of today, which is normal for an off-roader. So we're gonna put on an X-Mode, and then we're gonna pick the mid-level to give it a little bit more momentum so that it doesn't get stuck, and then I'm going to take my foot off of the accelerator and let the car do its thing and see how it appropriates power. Now, the one thing I would say, and I think this is important to note, that Toyota wouldn't set up a course that the car wouldn't do, so obviously I think we're going to get through here without necessarily getting stuck, but using this kind of, let's call it off-road cruise control, the car did really well. So there you have it. Even with just 8.4 inches of ground clearance, it still managed those elephant steps with applaud. All right, the next little obstacle that Toyota was kind enough to set up here is a little bit of a berm, which puts the car off kilter. So we're gonna get it a little bit sideways and see how it does when things get a little, butt clenchy. And here we go, going up the side. Once again, no problem whatsoever. Especially with these off-road tires, the car is just munching through it. All right, now one of the cool things that Subaru does, of course, is they've got cameras. And I remember the first time I saw these set up was in a Range Rover Evoque, where the car magically cut away the engine and the hood so you could see what's underneath the car. And the good thing about that is, of course, you can see where you're placing your tires. So here we have a whole bunch of different camera angles, what's in front, what's next to us. The only downside to all these cameras is, of course, it's hard to tell depth of field, so I wouldn't necessarily want to use this to judge whether I'm going to go creaming off of a cliff. But if you're watching to see if there's a giant boulder ahead of you or if you're about to run over something unpleasant, it is good. You also have a number of degrees here, which is another little tidbit that's good. And for all of you who love comfort, we do have heated and cooled seats and a heated steering wheel. So let's talk about some of the other numbers. And this is where the numbers get a little kind of dicey. So normally if you get the bZ Woodland, and as you know, Woodland is Toyota's way of designating an off-roader, or at least a very off-roady car. Then with the regular street tires, you're looking at 280 miles of range, actually 281 miles of range. But if you decide to go with these ATs, then you're going to cut that range down to 260, which is still acceptable, but keep in mind that about 300 is what most people today expect out of their electric car. And when you're in places like Colorado and it gets cold, that 260 will quickly be more like 220 because batteries don't like being cold. Now here we are going up this little hill, and the car is appropriating power wherever as necessary. And as a kind of a light dirt road off-roader, the suspension is doing a really good job. The cameras go off if you exceed 8 miles an hour, which is pretty normal. But I do feel confident. One of the things that we have found over the years about electric cars and going off-road is that the weight of the battery is detrimental to performance, just like in a sports car or a Formula One car. Obviously, the heavier it is, the worse the performance is. And in general, this has been the Achilles heel of electric cars. But over the years, they have gotten much better at allocating power to where the tire has traction. So we're going to be coming up on a little sandy wash up here that's relatively steep. And if I can get the camera back on here so we can see what angle we're at. So we'll see just how much of a incline we're on. We'll see how the car does going up a very steep and somewhat sandy area. So I'm going to try to keep it under 8 miles an hour and see if it can overcome this kind of detrimental weight that all electric cars seem to have. And like I said, when we first reviewed, I think it was the Rivian R1T with the quad motor setup, it was not great off-road, because what would happen is the computer would sense that the tire didn't have traction, and when we did some snow wheeling, all 4 tires didn't have traction. The computer just kind of threw up his hands and it said, hey, you got no traction, so I'm not going to allocate any power, and you're done. And so even though you had the foot to the floor, you were not going anywhere. The same thing happens with a Subaru, or used to happen with a Subaru when we used to test them, when you would do light off-roading in sand or dirt, and the CVT didn't have the parameters that it needed. So here's a little sandy wash part. Let's see how it does going up this. Of course, this is an electric car, and it doesn't have a CVT, so we don't have that issue anymore. But we shall see how it does. I'm gonna not use the car to do it. I'm just gonna use my big right toe to see how it does, and let's see how me as a driver can do getting up this little sandy part. Now, one of the downsides here is we're kind of looking at how many degrees, but it's really hard to tell because there's no numbers associated with the little graph of the car going uphill, so I can't really guess at what percentage we're at. But here we go. I'm not going to use too much momentum because that's not fair. And now I'm testing it. I'm putting it more and more throttle. The car is trying to figure it out, and look at that, it figured it out. So I have to give Toyota and X-MODE a big slap on the back because it did it. It didn't throw its hands up and say, hey, I can't do that. It actually got us through there. So good job, Toyota. Look, and you guys know this. At the end of the day, the biggest factor in off-roading isn't necessarily whether it's powered by an electric motor or an internal combustion engine. It isn't, whether it's got a couple hundred more pounds of battery weight. It's the fact that, the real traction comes from where the tire hits the ground. And if you've got a good set of ATs, you're going to be able to overcome a lot of those deficits. So as much as, I'm happy that this car was able to do it, I kind of feel like if you were to take, let's say the new CHR that Toyota is also rolling out that's all electric, or even the new Highlander that's going to be all electric and through some AT tires, all of those cars could do this. So, if you're looking for Bronco or Wrangler levels of off-roadiness out of your BZ woodland, you're probably barking up the wrong tree. But if you're going to go, to your favorite fishing hole and you're going to go off-roading and you don't mind that you have to, find a charger after you're done, then this might be a good choice. Now, over at TFL EV, we'll have a complete review of this, talking about the rest of the specs, how it does on road. So head on over to alltfl.com, as always, for more news, views, and real-world reviews. Maybe my videographer can go out and give you a view from Paul Walker's ranch, because it is spectacular. We're looking at the Pacific Ocean, and that was well worth coming up here. See you guys next time. Ciao.